Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to another live stream here on the channel. Hopefully you all are having a fantastic Saturday so far. Let's see what we have here in the chat. I'm just going to double check my mic is working. It sure is. So let's see who we have here in the chat today. We have Eli, Cody, Lucy, Weather Warrior, Legacy. Let's see. We also have, I'm going to scroll down a little bit here, Confused as well. And everybody else who is in the chat who I may have forgotten to welcome, or if you are just watching and not chatting, glad to have you in here. Alrighty, give me just a second to check a few things. I think we are good to go. Let's switch scenes. Cameras on. We should be good. Have to do our little check to make sure everything's good to go. And it looks like everything's good. I did change the text there above my face cam. Sometimes I forget about that, but yeah, we're just now starting. Let's see what we have here going across the country. If you guys have been paying attention, you would know that we actually have a PDS severe thunderstorm watch in effect right now across South Dakota. It's actually a pretty rare situation here. We have a enhanced risk for severe weather with a PDS severe thunderstorm watch. That's something you don't get all that often. What that means is there's very high confidence in significant damaging winds, potentially widespread, but there's not high enough confidence in exactly where those widespread wind speeds will be. So they've issued, it was literally like half the size, I think more than half the size of South Dakota. Just earlier today, they've disextended portions of it. So very rare PDS severe thunderstorm watch, because it kind of contradicts itself. Because PDS severe watch means there's high confidence in significant damaging winds, but there's no moderate, which means there's not high confidence in significant damaging winds. So it kind of contradicts itself, which is why you really don't get this situation much, if at all. I can't recall the last time I saw a PDS severe watch in a enhanced risk for severe weather. Most of the time it is in a moderate, and like half the time with moderate risks for winds, we don't even get a PDS severe thunderstorm watch. So it feels like it's a very rare situation to have what we have ongoing here across South Dakota right now. Not particularly intense wind speeds. This is just the beginning of the event. Models have not done well thus far, so I wouldn't be putting too much stock into them at the moment. I do think that we are going to see probably 90 to 100 mile an hour winds tonight. We've already gotten, 3-4 wind gusts of 80 plus miles per hour back here earlier today. I almost went live for that, but I decided to hold off because I wanted to kind of wait until we got some newer updates and it was further on in the day. But we will probably get another high-end probability severe watch maybe borderline PDS watch. I don't think it will be PDS, but it probably will be borderline PDS watch as you go into southwestern Minnesota and northwestern Iowa. So be prepared out there. That's going to be an overnight significant severe weather threat if you live in this vicinity here. That's going to be where you're in the overnight hours. It's what, 7:05 over there, so it's not yet dark. It should be close to sunset though. Yeah, well, probably another hour or so before sunset. Shouldn't be too close, but should be to the point where we will get an overnight severe threat there in northwest Iowa and southwestern Minnesota. Welcome, Twin. Glad to have you in here as well. Winters as well. Glad to have you in here. Winters, you've been having a very busy past week or so. I've been seeing you posted on the Discord server. You've been very busy, huh? So, yeah, let's go ahead and dive on into this. Let's go on into our categorical risks. So, as you know, we have that level 3 out of 5 in place today, that enhanced risk for severe weather out there across portions of South Dakota into Minnesota, northwest Iowa, and a very small sliver of far northeastern Nebraska. We can't rule out a brief tornado or two later on today as this congeals up into an MCS, especially as we get towards the 9 to 11 p.m. time frame Eastern time. That's going to be your peak tornado threat. So from about an hour from now all the way till roughly 3 hours from now. So just about a 2-hour window for a good brief tornado or two to be possible. Nothing too crazy. Damaging winds is the primary concern. We have that very large 30% SIG 2 outlined there from the Storm Prediction Center, which means wind gusts are expected to exceed 74 miles per hour inside that area highlighted in the SIG 2, which is in that 15% yellow double hatched area and that 30% red double hatched area. And what's more, you can already see, you know, we've really already verified a good chunk of this with widespread damaging wind gusts and some isolated very significant wind gusts upwards of 81 miles per hour out in this vicinity. And then we've also seen widespread 50 to 70 mile an hour winds back here, all the way back into north central South Dakota and even into far southwestern South Dakota. And I do think, once more, I do think we're going to end up verifying the rest of this wind risk. Don't let your guard down if you're in that area, in Sioux Falls especially. It looks like the line is weakening, but I do not expect it to weaken much. It's going to be kind of off and on. You know, it will look like it will weaken, and then it will strengthen, and then it will look like it's going to weaken, and then it will strengthen, and then finally it will weaken and die off. We really don't know what's going to happen with this thing because no models picked up on it well whatsoever. And we also do have the chance for some isolated hail today. Not really expecting much hail, though. Just some isolated 1-inch hail. That's about it. Nothing too crazy or over the top. But overall, level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk in that orange area. And then another level 2 out of 5 slight risk back out here into Montana. And a tiny little level 1 out of 5 marginal in southeastern Arizona. Then we go into tomorrow. We have a slight risk for severe weather tomorrow as well. The tornado risk, very little, just a tiny little 2% here in the coastal areas of Michigan. What is that? I forgot. We called it so many times and I've forgotten it. But up this portion of Michigan up here, and then eastern Wisconsin, and maybe even a sliver of northeastern Illinois. I do think they will expand that 2% also to the western portion here of Michigan as well, like that. So I think we'll have a good size 2% tour, kind of like this tomorrow. I think we'll have a 2% right around like that. Wind threat is obviously going to be the biggest problem tomorrow. We easily could see a enhanced risk at some point tomorrow. All these days are going to be now casting days. You're really just going to have to keep a close eye on the instability and where storms are firing and how bad models are doing, and adjust your forecast to that. So the SPC, I'm sure at some point will get an enhanced risk for damaging winds somewhere tomorrow. I couldn't tell you where because models are obviously going to be all over the place, but I would expect at least the chance for a enhanced risk tomorrow. Some hail also isolated up to 1.5 inches in diameter possible. So A brief tornado or two, once more, a brief tornado or two possible in that green area, and also extending into western Michigan and northeastern Illinois, northwestern Indiana. I think they'll extend that 2%. Damaging winds upwards of 80 miles per hour will be possible. If we get that enhanced risk, we can't rule out upwards of 90-mile-an-hour winds possible. And then some isolated large hailstones upwards of 1.75 inches in diameter, all possible for tomorrow. Then we move on to day 3, and this is probably going to be one of the more significant days for severe weather. This is probably one of the days that could end up producing a derecho, and possibly even 2 MCSs. So we're looking at the potential for an MCS or 2. One of those could become a derecho. It's hard to know, once more, exactly where the Storm Prediction Center has opted to highlight a additional 30% chance for damaging winds across much of central and southern Michigan into central northeastern Indiana and central northwestern Ohio. It's tricky. It's really, really tricky, but I would expect that to expand, and most likely by the time we get to day 1, we'll be looking at a 45% wind risk outlined somewhere in where that red area is currently for the day 3 risk, which is going to be Monday. But that's your categorical risk, level 2 out of 5. I do think that will be upgraded to a level 3 out of 5 by day 1. Unsure where. I could just give you a good guess, would probably be somewhere in central Michigan, down into Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, and western Ohio. That's kind of where things have been the most consistent on our model runs, although still all over the place. Then we move on into day 4. That's Tuesday, and this looks like a particularly big day for damaging winds. I think this 15% slight risk will be expanded to the southwest quite a bit, maybe even as far as like Huntsville, Alabama, maybe even as far as like Atlanta, Georgia, maybe as far south as Augusta, Georgia, maybe as far west as Nashville, maybe as far up to the northwest as close to the London and Richmond, Kentucky area. So I do think that will be expanded off further to the southwest, because I do believe significant damaging winds will be possible, maybe all the way back into central Alabama on Tuesday. And once more, we'll probably end up with an enhanced risk for this. This is one of the days that I do think could actually, another day that I think could go 45% wind risk as well. And I'm not for sure. Let me see. I'm going to take one quick look at something here before I say what I was about to say. Give me just one moment. This is for the 28th, right? Yes. We'll have to see how the 500 millibar trough ends up going, but this could be one of the days that we could be talking about a borderline moderate or a 60% wind risk being possible on. We'll have to see how our convection on Monday unfolds. So Monday and Tuesday are probably the 2 big days that I would be watching the utmost. Again, that's Monday's risk area, that's Tuesday's risk area, and I do think Tuesday's risk area will shift further off to the southwest. So once more, Tuesday's risk, or rather, my bad, Monday's risk, Tuesday's risk. Yeah, I do think, I think much of South Carolina will be included in that slight risk by the time we get to day 1. I think they'll expand that actually tomorrow for the day 3 outlook. So probably the least impressive day out of this stretch for severe weather is tomorrow. I would say tomorrow, out of the next 4 days, impresses me the least. I don't really see anything too crazy happening tomorrow until tomorrow night. If we take a look at the newest HRRR, we're going to go with the newest 18Z run here, the newest run that goes out 48 hours. That way we can actually look at tomorrow. Let's go ahead and pull this on out into the future here. So you get that MCS that pushes off to the southeast. It starts to go sub-severe about 2 a.m. Right around the Mason City, Fort Dodge, Iowa area. Continues off to the southeast. Not much throughout the early morning hours and even into the early afternoon hours. You really don't see much at all spark up until the mid to late evening hours here. This is about 7, 8 p.m. Eastern, and that is when our primary threat for severe weather finally starts to pop up here on the HRRR across eastern eastern Minnesota, much of Wisconsin, and then, of course, into western Michigan. And the bulk of your main significant severe threat really doesn't occur until 9 p.m. or after. This is 9 p.m., 10, 11, 12 a.m. now. So this is getting into Monday morning, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And you can see this cluster. That's going to be probably what we need to watch the most. This cluster that goes from northeastern Minnesota all the way down into northern Illinois. That could be what ends up prompting a enhanced risk for severe weather tomorrow across Wisconsin and Illinois. So we'll need to monitor that very, very closely. And then by the time we get into Monday afternoon, our run stops. But you could see already some development starting across the risk area as early as 2 p.m. Eastern time. Across the central and eastern U.S. Another thing I want to mention for tomorrow, something that might be getting downplayed by the Storm Prediction Center. If we take a look at the outlook for tomorrow, we're under a general thunderstorm risk across much of the mid-Atlantic and into portions of the New England states. I do think many of those areas should be upgraded to a marginal and maybe even a localized slight risk should be added, because these storms, if we take a look here, they're not going to have an insane amount of instability, but ones that are able to form off of that instability axis could end up producing pretty, I almost want to say pretty widespread 50 to 60 mile an hour wind gusts. So we'll watch that area tomorrow to see if the Storm Prediction Center ends up upgrading that to a marginal or a slight risk, because some of those definitely could be pretty damaging in terms of wind gusts there. Not particularly crazy on the HRRR here. 40 mile an hour winds, 30 mile an hour winds, but those storms are like right on the edge of that general thunderstorm risk. So once more, I think we'll see at least a marginal extended up into North Carolina, Virginia, and southeastern Pennsylvania for tomorrow. You can see a few of these actually do get almost severe. That's 42 mile an hour winds there, 44. So some of them are borderline severe. Like I said, maybe a slight risk will be needed, but I do think that marginal should at least expand up something similar to like this. Something like that. Welcome, Use the Forest. Glad to see you back in the chat. Glad to finally be back on here. I've really been slacking on the weather content lately. That's all on me. I've just been swamped. I really have just been swamped, and also maybe distracted by some games as well. I need to get back on that weather grind. And then, of course, if you guys didn't hear from the Discord server, I was out of power. I was out of power for like 12 hours yesterday. I would have went live for all that stuff in northern Minnesota had I actually had power. Do you think Cedar Rapids, Iowa will be today, tomorrow, Monday? How do you think? Cedar Rapids, Iowa. That should be, yeah, like east, southeast Iowa. I don't think anything today. Maybe just some light rain very, very late tonight. Tomorrow, there's your slight risk for tomorrow. I don't think you'll get too much tomorrow. I'd say you need to watch overnight tomorrow night. I think that's the day to watch. It's very tricky to say. This is the HRRR here for tomorrow. And you can see that really doesn't have anything too crazy going into Iowa City. Some isolated 10, 15 mile an hour wind gusts around that vicinity, but nothing too crazy. And you can see the much crazier wind gusts well off to your northeast, up to 80 miles an hour. And this is, by the way, for 4 a.m. Central. 4 a.m. Central for technically Monday morning. Extremely late tomorrow night, technically Monday morning. Discord server is, the third link in the description, I believe. Third link in the description. Tornadoes, I don't think will be much of a problem over the next few days. I really am not expecting too much of a tornado threat. The only day that might interest me tornado-wise is Monday. Monday is the only day where I'm kind of like watching for maybe a strong tornado threat, but every other day, it's just, including today, a brief spin-up tornado can't be ruled out. And same goes for tomorrow, but I think Monday would be the day I would watch the most if we're talking about tornado potential. And where I would probably end up going with central to northern Indiana. Take a look here at our NAM 3K model run, everyone's favorite model that's totally accurate. And you can see that has a MCS pushing through central Indiana, but there's a lot of different variants of this. You have the 12K NAM, which pushes an MCS into Indiana, but then kind of a boundary tries to set up almost in western Indiana. However, I don't think much fires off of that. Some storms might fire off of it, so there's a lot of uncertainty on that. What I'm thinking is derecho potential. I think Monday probably has the highest chance for a derecho. I think Tuesday has a higher chance to produce more widespread damaging winds over a more populated area and get more damaging wind reports. Monday, I think, has a better chance to produce a long tracked line of significant damaging winds. So if we kind of pull this out here, I don't really think this is possible for Monday, or rather Tuesday. Tuesday, I think we'll have multiple pop-up thunderstorms across this entire area that produces widespread 60 to 80 mile an hour wind gusts, but they're not going to be MCSs. I don't at least expect them to be MCSs or derechos, clusters of severe storms producing damaging wind gusts. Whereas for Monday, I think Monday is going to be this line here that pulls through Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio, and that, I think, has the opportunity to actually be a proper derecho. And that could track all the way from southeastern Wisconsin, all the way from maybe even 2 MCSs, like I said, maybe even 2 MCSs. Does the NAM show that as well? Curious if the NAM shows that here. Sorry for going all over the place. Yeah, so the NAM here has a morning MCS. So I think they're going to go enhanced risk for that. I think we'll get a enhanced risk for severe weather for damaging winds. Probably in this area in here. Something like that. I think we'll get a enhanced risk for damaging winds tomorrow. 30% wind. 30% SIG 1 wind. And then Monday afternoon. Yeah, look at that. There you go. So you get two. You get a MCS in the morning, Monday morning and early afternoon. That dies off. I wouldn't be so sure about that. How many times have you seen a line of significant damaging winds die off of in an environment of 5,000 cape? I don't know what kills off that line. I would not be so sure about that line just vanishing into thin air with 5,000 instability. I am not too sure about that. And then you get another line to form Tuesday night. So I think we could get 1 or 2 MCSs on Monday. That's what I'm thinking. You think tonight will end up being a bust? There's honestly not much out there. There's literally 70 mile an hour winds ongoing up here in eastern South Dakota. And there's literally, this should be upgraded to 70 as well because we have that wind report of 70. And we have also had, if we take a look to clear this map up, we have had a full swath here of 55 to 81 mile an hour wind gusts. Really right in that slight risk to enhanced risk area. And the worst is yet to come. The worst is yet to come. This risk is really already verified. The only thing that hasn't verified yet is the 100 mile an hour wind gusts. That hasn't verified, but we have already seen more than 10 damaging wind events of 58 miles per hour or greater, and we have already seen more than 1, and matter of fact, we've seen 3 damaging wind reports greater than 75 miles per hour. So the PDS watch already verified, already done. It's already verified. If the storms just vanish into thin air, it's already verified. The only thing I would say that hasn't verified, once more, is those wind gusts of 90 to 100 miles per hour. That is yet to verify. That's yet to verify. HRRR seem to be a bit off this season for tornadoes, don't you think, in terms of listening to chaser complaints? Yeah, HRRR has been off this entire year. It really has. It really, really, really has. But so has many other models. So has many, many other models. But the HRRR was one of the few that actually kind of hinted towards this, at least a little. It tried. It tried. It didn't do great, but it tried. If we go to like the 000 run from last night, it was one of the only few cams that tried to hint at a line of damaging winds forming today. You might be wondering why every model's been bad this year. I'm going to point it to one simple reason. One very, very simple reason here. If we go over to forecasting tools, we go to our beautiful observed soundings, and we go to something called 12Z data. What are we missing? What are we missing? This is crucial data here. 12Z data that we use every day, every single day. What are we missing here? We are missing crucial data across the kind of central to western United States. This is extraordinarily important data. It's not considered critical data, I suppose, because it's in, lesser populated regions that typically we have seen a decrease in tornado activity in the last decade or so. So I guess it's not considered critical data. However, in my opinion, it should be, because if we take a look at literally any 500 millibar jet stream, where does it start? It starts in the west. It all starts in the west. Your ridge is in the west. Your high pressure right now is in the western U.S. Your troughs start in the western U.S., technically over the Pacific, but once they move in the U.S., they begin in the western U.S. Everything starts in the western portion of our country because that's where it goes onshore and then either rides a ridge or pushes a ridge out. So that's very, very, very critical data that we miss every single day. Every single day we miss 00Z data and 12Z data. Now we do get a little bit more 0Z weather balloons, so there is that. We get actually quite a good amount. On this particular one, I feel like this might not be every single 00Z. This is like the most weather balloons I've ever seen launched out here in a long time. So I feel like it might not be that much. But the point is, we definitely miss some critical data with that 12Z weather balloon. We definitely do. That helps. The more weather balloons, it really, every single weather balloon matters. Every single one. No matter how much you think it doesn't, it actually does. I want to go over to mesoanalysis here. And I want to go up to the severe threat. Very strong capping in effect right now. I wonder if that could be helping to kind of decrease the damaging wind threat imminently. But I do expect this to increase after 9 p.m. So right now we're down to about 60 to 70 mile-an-hour wind gusts at the moment. Take a look at our newest HRRR. This is our 23Z. So this is actually the complete newest data. You can see at 9 o'clock Eastern, don't mind the 103 mile-an-hour wind gusts it has here, southeast of Alexandria. And it continues 10 o'clock Eastern, Sioux Falls, almost 90 mile-an-hour winds. I doubt that's going to happen exactly over Sioux Falls. That would be quite a tragedy if the only 85 mile-an-hour winds we get today is in literally one of the most populated cities in South Dakota. 11 p.m. still very much severe. And then finally about 1 a.m. Eastern, this is midnight Eastern, about 1 a.m., about an hour after this, is when your line is going to start going sub-severe. Which sub-severe is less than 58 miles an hour for wind gusts. So these storms, although they look very, very weak, you have a very, very energized atmosphere. We're talking 8,000 instability out here. And your downdraft cape definitely is lower. It was actually upwards of 2,200 earlier today. And now in this vicinity, it's kind of right around that roughly 1,200 to 1,500 range, right where these storms are in southeastern South Dakota. And you could see in about 2 hours or so, maybe not even about an hour from now, they're going to be moving into a slightly more favorable environment for tornadoes. There's a little bit more mid-level wind shear here, 250 0 to 1 kilometer, or 0 to 3 rather, 250 0 to 3 kilometer SRH. which is very good for some spin in the atmosphere. And you also have your temperature starting to decrease, so your temperatures are going to get closer to your dew points, which will also, decrease that elevated structure that they may have and increase that tor threat a little bit more. So I think the highest damaging wind threat, probably out of the entire day today, is going to be over the next 2.5 hours till around 11 p.m. Eastern. Let's see. Wednesday's risk will be across the far southeast U.S. There's going to be probably two different areas, probably roughly southern to southeastern Georgia, and then there might be another area back into North Dakota, all the way back down to eastern Colorado on the east side of the Rockies. Pretty much right on the Rockies. And we'll likely continue with some isolated damaging wind threats towards the end of next week. Nothing looks too crazy right now towards the end of next week. If we go to our trough here, so this is the GFS model run for today. You can see this strong 500 millibar pattern here, strong high pressure. This is fueling that damaging wind bag across South Dakota, northeast Nebraska, northwestern Iowa for today. Tomorrow, that intensifies quite rapidly across northeastern Montana and northern Wisconsin. You could see this jet stream fairly weak, right? I mean, the southern tail of it's about 50 miles per hour. And then by the time it gets into northeastern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin towards 21Z, about 5 p.m. Eastern, it's up to about 82, 83 miles per hour. So that should really favor some good damaging wind threat somewhere in that vicinity. Somewhere in that vicinity should be where your damaging wind threat is favored. And I wouldn't even rule out a derecho tomorrow. That's going to be something I'll watch very, very closely on our cams and our instability. That's going to be a huge thing because we should have a little instability access set up tomorrow late afternoon. And if storms can fire on that and then just continue into the evening, they'll be able to maintain even into the early overnight hours like the NAM 3K has. And then Monday, which I expect to be one of the larger days for severe weather. Nothing too particularly insane on the GFS, but it is the GFS. It really doesn't have anything too over the top. I do want to go check a model I haven't looked at all. And that is everybody's favorite. Everyone's favorite model run, the RRFSA. And we're going to go to the 18Z RRFSA so we can pull this out far. We'll stay on the wind gust products here. So right off the bat, it didn't do horrible with today's severe threat. It didn't do great, but it didn't do horrible. Go into tomorrow. See if it has a MCS form up in this vicinity right about now. This is 8 p.m., 9 p.m. I don't see an MCS. I don't see an MCS like the HRRR has for tomorrow, so that would be an interesting scenario. I do see a random MCS down here, though. Fires off in southeast Iowa and then pushes off to the southeast and then eventually to the south. And now this is going into Monday. This is now going into Monday here. And I really don't see anything too absurd. The area I saw the most there was this region right in here. If we go to our Cape, near composite reflectivity, yeah, that would be the area for severe weather on the RRFSA. Wow. Has like a West Virginia derecho here. And eastern Ohio into almost the whole state of West Virginia derecho. And then it decides to die right over my house, like pretty much everything. Then you move into Monday, and it has very rapid development. This would be wild. That would be very, very wild for North Carolina standards if you just saw multiple... some of those might even be supercells, actually, because that's a lot of wind shear in the 0 to 1. That's a lot of wind shear in the 0 to 1 and a bunch of 0 to 3. A bunch of 0 to 3 right there. So I doubt that's going to happen because that would actually give a chance for a tornado threat in Virginia, North Carolina, and that doesn't happen anymore. I'm in denial on that one. Starting to get an increase in velocities here near Alexandria. It's definitely not the 103 mile an hour winds that the HRRR portrayed. Shocker, it's wrong. I know it's such a surprise, but it's not portraying that. Our radar's not picking up on it, so good news there. Hopefully we continue to see this weaken. Some runs show it weaken, others show it strengthening. So we'll watch that just to see if that intensifies rapidly or not. It could not. StormNet wants it to, though. StormNet wants it to really explode here once it gets into that mid-level wind shear, which is about 930. Once it gets to about 930, that's when StormNet explodes on this line. I'm curious. I'm going to go to the 15-minute HRRR here. This is the 15-minute HRRR, so it updates every 15 minutes you get a frame on composite reflectivity. Yeah, and this thing is overdoing it like crazy. Gracious, what? Gracious day. This model run is either doing something insane with the damaging wind threat, or it's just making the damaging wind threat disappear into thin air. I highly doubt in the matter of... But, well... I mean, that's not too far off, honestly. It literally has like 50 to 60 mile an hour winds right now. And then in 15 to 20 minutes, it explodes to 100. So I'm curious. I'm actually curious if that happens. Watch that area. Apparently, according to the HRRR, this region right here is going to explode in the next 15 minutes from 58 mile an hour winds to 105. Up to like 105, 115 mile per hour winds. Yeah, StormNet has been doing very, very, very well this year. Other than in North Carolina. Because I chased the other day using StormNet a lot and it did not do well. You know what I used? I used other things. I used mesoanalysis and I used actual radar data to show that StormNet was wrong. StormNet consistently wanted storms that I was on to shift to the southeast, and they never did. They never did. If I followed StormNet, I would have missed a wall cloud. I got a supercell when I went and chased that day. Or no, that was the live stream one. After I ended the live stream, the one I chased in just to my west actually that had a wall cloud. That actually had one of the best wall clouds I've seen. That actually had one of the best wall clouds I have seen. I'll have to get a photo up for you guys. I took it very close to the speedway. Let's see here. I'll show you the edited one here. Now you guys know that I've been storm chasing. Let me go ahead and edit this one real quick too. Make it look cooler. I got into a tornado warning in South Boston. When was this? 3 days ago, the 22nd. The 22nd. Give me just a moment to do this. This is a very quick edit, so it ain't gonna look pretty. Already give you a warning on that one. There we go. So I got 2 wall clouds to show you. The first one literally, I think the first one had a funnel at some point. I just couldn't see it behind the trees. I'm pretty confident on that. Let's go ahead and save this to downloads. Now, I'm importing these through Discord, so the image quality isn't the best. It's not as bad as Twitter quality, but it's definitely not the best quality. So here is... I'm going to just real quick, just in case this isn't it, black out the screen. I don't want to pull up something that I don't have rights to. Okay. Perfect. So when I ended stream 4 days ago, this is the one I got. I got this storm. And this is near Martinsville Speedway. And this portion, I kid you not, if I can go ahead and actually draw. Give me a moment. Epic Pen decides to not work sometimes. This was also taken from a video, so it's not the highest quality. I didn't exactly want to stop in the middle of the highway, but this right here, this section was rotating like crazy. All this is like inflow and scud behind it. Like this wasn't rotating at all. But this was absolutely crazy. And the rising motion in front of it too, like this portion of it was rising insanely fast. And then this right here was rotating. And I'm pretty confident that if I got here like 5 minutes ago, before this photo was taken, it probably had a funnel. And then the other one that I haven't shown you guys at all in the Discord, I don't believe. This was the tornado-warned supercell in South Boston 3 days ago that I didn't even tell you guys I was chasing. And this left portion was rotating in here. That far left portion. This was a dying supercell. I caught it towards the end. There was no openings back here whatsoever. And then there was this huge field that I just went and got a photo in. So there you go. Those are 2 good photos from my storm chase. And both of them were actually like really good wall clouds. Both of them were actually really good. Especially that first one. That second one, it was only very, very weak rotation. It was tornado warned, so you gotta say it was like a wall cloud, right? I mean, yeah, that one though, that one, the second one, I wasn't impressed with. I was not impressed with that second one. The first one though, I think that is probably the best, might be the best wall cloud I've gotten. It's not good, Pez. Okay, buddy. Okay, buddy. This is where I was right here. I was right along this road. Right along that road. And the problem is, like, these are not really any good pull-off roads. I should have looked for, like, a field like this closer, but in the heat of the moment, you know, you're trying to drive. That's not really what you're looking for. Let's see. Plus, Pez, you have gone, like, you chased for, like, 4 days and got nothing. So. And you went all the way out to, like, in Kansas. So 2 hours down the road from me getting a supercell, and then 10 minutes from my house, I think is better than traveling to Kansas for a bust. It's the trees. That's really the only problem. Like, there is definitely good views. There is definitely good views in Southern Virginia. You just have to know where they are. And the biggest problem is getting a storm in that view. That's the problem. That is the problem. Most of the time, storms know where the trees are, so that's where they're going to be. I'm convinced that in Virginia and North Carolina, the storms know exactly where the trees are. There's no chance they don't. You think Monday will go moderate by the time we hit Monday morning? No. I highly doubt it. I highly doubt we get a day 2 moderate. The most of the if we get a moderate out of any of these days, it's going to be last second, literally. It's going to be a last second decision after the SPC goes over the 500 millibar winds, Cape, and everything else that they go over and realize that models aren't handling well. But I don't expect any of these days to go moderate. I do think tomorrow will go enhanced for that late evening and nocturnal MCS. And then Monday, I think will go enhanced for that evening and early overnight MCS derecho potential, whichever one it may be day of. And of course, Tuesday, I think will go enhanced. The biggest reason Tuesday is because it's going to be a very populated area. So when you get storms of that magnitude in a very populated area, wind reports are going to flood in like no tomorrow. So I do think that Tuesday will have no problem performing as a enhanced risk, and I think Monday and Tuesday both are probably going to be 45% wind risks. Unless they just don't fire. I mean, sometimes with these patterns, you literally just don't get storms to fire. The thing is, if it fires, it becomes a full-blown derecho. But if it doesn't fire, it's nothing. Like today. Today definitely won't be classified as a derecho, but, I mean, you went from a slight risk, high-end marginal to a slight risk caliber event today is what it looked like yesterday morning. And then this morning, it looked like slight risk to enhanced. And then, of course, this afternoon, it looked like enhanced to high-end enhanced. And there was a point where, you know, we had a small chance with some of our model guidance to get a moderate. But obviously the SPC withheld that categorical risk update, which, once more, a little strange, though, why we got a PDS severe watch and a enhanced risk. I've rarely see those. I really can't recall seeing it. Let me go over to here real quick. We should get a new SPC outlook. We actually just got a new mesoscale discussion. The threat for 75 to 90 mile an hour winds will persist, as well as isolated large hail and a brief tornado. A severe thunderstorm watch will be issued shortly. That is for southwestern Minnesota and northwestern Iowa. I'll show you that graphic when it actually fully comes in. Whenever that may be. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later. I think we're going to get a 45% SIG 1 wind risk, 15% hail, and 5 SIG 1 tour for Monday. The only day that I would say that those probabilities is possible is Monday. Any other day, I would disagree. Tomorrow might be able to go 30% SIG 1. I think that's what tomorrow's going to go. Let's see. Yeah, for Monday, yeah. These velocities are increasing. We'll see. Apparently, in 10 minutes, this is going to go from what it is now, which is roughly 60 mile an hour winds, to like 103 mile per hour winds, according to the HRRR. Oh, and there's the southern one is now significant. Observed 70 mile an hour winds heading towards Freeman in southeastern South Dakota. Yeah, StormNet is still lighting up about 9:15, 9:30 Eastern, about roughly 30 minutes away. So that's when I expect our peak to start. I don't, you know, I don't know. I don't know about Virginia for Tuesday with a SIG 1. I would say that this is probably our second best opportunity for a SIG 1. This isn't like the last 2 weeks or so of severe threats that we've had here in Virginia and North Carolina. This one's going to be associated with northwesterly flow, which means there should be at least some wind shear and some, I think National Weather Service Blacksburg said about 40 knot bulk shear. So that might allow for more significant wind gusts. So maybe. Most of the time, I would say definitely not, and it's just going to be like a non-sig 30 or 45% wind risk. But since you have northwesterly flow like that, as long as we actually get instability, unlike what the GFS is showing there, then we might be able to get a 45% wind risk out there. SIG 1. Which, if I'm not mistaken, would still be enhanced. I'm pretty sure it's a 45% SIG 2 that is a moderate. If we really get a Rachel on Monday, I could see a 45% SIG 2 wind risk. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, especially if you get something like the NAM 3K to pan out. But that would be for your early morning threat right there. But that's there's a lot of uncertainty on that. There is a lot of uncertainty on that. No, no models are consistent. Look at the differences here. I mean, very, very crazy differences. Insane differences. That's the GFS, the NAM 3K, the RAP, and the HRRR, all for the exact same time on Monday, 2 p.m. Monday on July 27th. And they all show vastly different warm sectors. The only one that is close is the RAP and the NAM. I think those are the only two that are like remotely close. There's your moisture. GFS, NAM 3K, NAM 12K, RAP, and HRRR. I would say probably the worst model to use is the HRRR for this day. And it really comes down to how tomorrow night performs. If this turns into a big MCS, what's that going to do? It's going to wipe out your warm sector for Monday. It's going to change the location of the greatest severe threat. But if that line is slow enough, what will it do? Well, that line, if slow enough, will actually become your primary threat on Monday, because it would be moving into that very favorable environment around noon on the NAM 3K. So many differences. And I think the biggest player in Monday's event is going to be how tomorrow night's event unfolds. A 30% SIG 1 is enhanced. That's a level 3 out of 5. Oh, is a 30% significant always enhanced? Oh, regardless of the SIG? Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I'm about to find out right now. Yes, because a 30% only has a SIG 1 and SIG 2. SIG 3 is always high. If you have a SIG 3 wind, it's got to be a 45% probability SIG 3 or higher, which is a high risk, whether it be 45, 60, 75, or 90 SIG 3. All SIG 3 wind is high. There's no such thing as SIG 3 hail. And then for tornado, the only SIG 3 thing, both wind and tornado, that is not a high risk is a SIG 3 15%. That's a moderate. That would be a moderate. So, yeah, regardless of the SIG level, a 30% significant is always an enhanced. So yeah, we're gonna keep watching this line here, moving across the I-90 corridor in southeastern South Dakota. That's heading towards Sioux Falls. That's where most of our, well, I won't say most of our guidance because I'm only using two things. They use Triple R and StormNet. That's both of those are hinting towards a significant uptrend in damaging winds with this in about 20 minutes, about 15 to 20 minutes. Now, obviously the 23Z 15-minute HRRR is going to be dead wrong because there's no way we go from 60-mile-an-hour winds to 100 and what is this? 115. Yeah. We're not going from 116. We're not going from 60-mile-an-hour winds to 116 in 15 minutes. And according to it, in 3 minutes, roughly 3 to 5 minutes, we should have 100-mile-an-hour winds ongoing. So we already know that's dead wrong. Let's see. Jackson Center, Ohio for Monday. Alrighty, let's see. So you should be very close to that 30% wind risk. Yeah, dead center of it. So you're going to be in an area that we need to watch for that MCS to derecho potential. I would say brief tornado, 1-inch hail, and 60-mile-an-hour winds are all possible. And the biggest hazard will be those wind gusts. We could see wind gusts upwards of 75 miles per hour in that vicinity. So you need to be weather aware. I also saw another one in Ohio. Brook Park, Ohio. Yep. You're going to need to watch it closely as well. You are going to need to watch closely as well. Same hazards for you. 60-mile-an-hour winds, 1-inch hail, torr possible. And we could see gusts upwards of 75 miles per hour. Pittsburgh. You'll need to keep an eye on things, but I don't think it will be anything too crazy for y'all. Just isolated wind gusts in western Pennsylvania could be up to 60 miles per hour. I don't think western Pennsylvania is going to get much out of this stretch for severe weather. Pennsylvania shouldn't get anything too bad this time around. You guys have been getting slammed pretty much every other event, so much needed break. And there's your severe watch. I expect, yeah, that is not PDS. Well, actually, the probs haven't come in on weather-wise, so for all I know, it could be. I don't think it is. It should be a high-end normal severe. It is a 80-60. 80-60 severe watch. I'm surprised I haven't turned this severe up here to 70-mile-an-hour winds, because I do think that this is increasing to 60 to 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts possible in there. Moving towards Sioux Falls. Yep, Ohio's going to get nailed again. You guys will need to watch Monday very, very closely. I wonder if... Hold on, I'm going to show this. Can I show this on stream? Give me just a moment to see. I am like 99% sure I can share this, but I'm going to go see real quick. I'm pretty sure I can. Let's see. I cannot. Rip. Yeah, so there's that severe thunderstorm watch once more. This area. That's an 80-60 watch prob for wind. So big time wind going to be moving in that area overnight tonight. So you need to be hyper weather aware. I think the worst of those winds will be towards the start of the watch. This is the area that I think needs to watch the most for the significant damaging wind threat. Right in here. From now till 11, the next 2 hours. It starts now, 9 o'clock. I think this is when our worst winds will start to increase in probability. Trying to think if there's anything else here I can show y'all. I know it could show NSSL, but that's not very accurate. This is NSSL. You can see for today, look at the hotspot for today. It had a tiny little enhanced risk in southeast South Dakota for today. So it actually didn't do that bad today. But considering this thing always has like a moderate on days like today, that's pretty surprising. Like tomorrow, it has a huge moderate. It has a huge 45% and even a SIG up there in Wisconsin. And then on Monday, that continues as well. And look how far to the southeast that is on Monday. That is a signal of a long-lived MCS. You guys ready for some 2012 derecho action again? Because that's what this is hinting at. It's for Monday, and then for Tuesday, just a huge blob right over the Appalachian Mountains. Which let me tell you, if that actually comes to fruition and we actually get something like that, it's going to be the most memorable event in this area since 2023. So I need to watch that very, very, very closely. 2023 was extraordinarily bad for this vicinity in here. But this region, Southern Virginia, Northern North Carolina, I mean, we really haven't had any bad outbreaks recently. We've had our regional severe weather outbreaks and very small scale tornado events, very small scale, especially towards eastern North Carolina and eastern Virginia. But yeah, we'll need to watch Monday night and all day Tuesday. The 00Z HRRR's rendering. That's going to take a while, though. That is going to take a while. Chances of a moderate on Monday, I'm chasing. I couldn't give you a specific probability. I do know it's possible. It's a possibility. I don't think it's a likelihood, though. Starting to see some very significant velocities trying to sneak in here. Trying to get 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts. 70 to 75-mile-an-hour wind gusts sparking up here. Southeast of Salem, southeastern South Dakota. Monday has the highest ceiling. Okay, it depends on what you mean by highest ceiling. If you mean which one has the highest chance to produce damaging wind reports, like the highest amount of damaging wind reports, that's pretty much by far Tuesday because of population. But in terms of like the most widespread and the most significant and the highest derecho potential and the highest tornado potential day, it's Monday by far. But Tuesday might be a very close competitor. Yeah. Watch that southern edge. I don't think it's anything tornadic right now. Actually, it might be. It might be getting a little couplet of rotation here. Trying to start up in southeastern South Dakota. Any clue why the SPC has been hatching risks in the eastern U.S. lately? Kind of weird, because most of them haven't been significant. Most of them are under the high pressure cluster damaging wind events. Most of them produce 60 to 70 mile an hour winds, and if we do get 75 mile an hour winds, it's just a very isolated incident. If you go back and look at most of the risks in the last 2 weeks for Virginia, North Carolina, and even into Pennsylvania, the majority of them are 60 to 70 mile an hour wind reports, and only isolated ones upwards of 75. Most of our wind events have been non-SIG. And like I said, I think Tuesday might be able to change that. Pretty surprised that this is only a 60 mile an hour severe. I'm quite confident that we're going to start seeing 70 mile an hour winds and probably even 80 mile an hour winds as this approaches Sioux Falls here over the next hour. There was a tornado outbreak the other day that wasn't SIG 1. Yeah, that was the 5% non-SIG tornado risk. No idea why that wasn't SIG. That should have been 15 SIG 1. It really should have. It should have been at least 10 SIG 1. At least. But most think NATO cast had a 15%. CSU, I believe, had a high-end 10%. HREF had a large 15%. StormNet was fairly high in probability as well. Just remember the temperature dew point spreads are quite high right now, so I don't think these support a TOR threat. Mesoanalysis, surface observations, that's 91 and 80. That's about 10 to 11. It's not particularly high. If it was a lone discrete storm, maybe, but it's a line that it should be fine. Even if it's a discrete storm, 10 to 11 is not horrible. The sweet spot is between 5 and 10. So 10 and 11, that's just like right on that edge of the sweet spot. It's just a little too high. It's not that bad though. And temperatures once again are decreasing. And there's your velocities of 80. These might even get up to 90. It wouldn't even surprise me if they get up to 90. We knew this was coming. I don't know if it's going to get higher than 90, but it ought to be 80 to 90 mile an hour winds now with this severe heading towards Sioux Falls. Main thing holding Monday back, the potential for morning convection from a leftover MCS threat tomorrow night. And the high uncertainty on that. If the MCS is fast, it could wipe out the warm sector. If the MCS is not there, then Monday could be a higher ceiling. If the MCS is slower, then Monday also could be a high ceiling. So it just depends. More wildfire smoke. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. A little bit of CC right there. Velocity doesn't match up, but reflectivity does. I already have a analysis radar over here, so we might as well just do the checkbox. Reflectivity there, velocity a little displaced to the southeast, en route very, very weak, but there, CC there. Spectrum width off to the southeast, ZDR drop. Let's see. There is indeed a little ZDR drop. Only thing that doesn't support that, the majority of it, is the velocity. Which is just so happens to be the most crucial part of a tornado. Pretty sure that's a pretty crucial part to your tornado risk. Very interesting that StormNet it doesn't have high probs with this. StormNet does not believe that these velocities are anywhere remotely legit. Like, it literally has only a 40% chance for 58 plus mile an hour winds right now. fairly low probability. I didn't see the 00Z back here. Let's see here. Yeah, so as expected, it has the worst winds going over Sioux Falls and then continuing into southwest Minnesota, northwestern Iowa. And then the worst dies off towards midnight, 1 a.m. And we are not yet loaded in to tomorrow's main threat. We're really not even close to that, only at 14Z. Still a CC on that newest scan. That's right where the clear air contamination would be, so I don't believe it's a tornado, but we'll keep an eye on it. What are your thoughts on Monday? I wasn't here earlier. I'm chasing. Let's see. It's tricky. It's very, very tricky. I can tell you this, out of this whole stretch of severe weather, it has the highest tor threat. I'm very confident on that. I'm very, very confident. If we're gonna get any tornado threat for the next 3-4 days, it's gonna come from Monday. Let's see. I mean, it's really hard to say. It's really hard to say. What I find a little ironic is actually StormNet has the highest wind threat Tuesday. Yeah, it is interesting that this is not a considerable severe. It is interesting. I'm wondering if they're thinking that the velocities are not legit because, like I said, StormNet is very low. StormNet's only at like a 40%. But I think at least some of those velocities have to be legit. I think we're at least seeing gusts of 70 miles an hour in here. And I do believe that that is still a little couplet, so we could easily get a tornado out of that heading towards Pumpkin Center, southeast South Dakota. And I'd also be watching that tiny little velocity couplet down there. What's the ceiling for Monday? 45% SIG 2 derecho. With multiple tornadoes, 1 or 2 strong embedded inside of it. There you go. StormNet is starting to light up. It's starting to catch up with those winds. I mean, that's in a very realistic place for damaging winds. That is in a very realistic area for significant damaging winds with placement of your storm. So we'll see if the National Weather Service out here upgrades this up to a SIG, severe or not, considerable. We did just get the new SPC Outlook. Here's the probs they've maintained. 9 p.m. Eastern Outlook, last one of the day. Maintained a fairly small 2% tornado risk. A broad 5% non-SIG hail. And of course, the 30% SIG 2 wind risk remains with a 15% SIG 1 back up into Montana. Do you think day 2 enhanced for Monday? I do. I think it will. I don't know if it will be in the morning, but I do think in the afternoon we'll have a enhanced risk for day 2. And I think day 3 might follow suit. I think we might have a day 2 afternoon enhanced and then a day 3 afternoon enhanced. Our only considerable severe right now is back up here into Roscoe, north central North Dakota, or north central South Dakota, rather. It's actually outside of the watch area. Yeah, continue to watch that little hook echo west of Sioux Falls. And also, of course, continuing to watch the increase in velocities of up to 70-mile-an-hour winds at the moment. So we're waiting to see if the SPC, or rather the National Weather Service, increases the wind threat on this polygon or not. Still staying at 60 mile an hour observed right now. Since when was PDS watches on the table today? Since when they issued the MCD for it. As I looked at the outlook was slight. Yep. You must have looked earlier this morning. Yeah, and I do think I don't think I wouldn't argue if we got a PDS severe here heading towards Sioux Falls, but I think we at least need a 70. I think we at least need a 70-mile-an-hour severe. We're also watching the 00Z HRRR run come in for tomorrow. One thing I can already tell you is the 00Z already has convection ongoing, notable convection ongoing up in Minnesota around 3 p.m. at 3 p.m. Eastern. Wow. Find that a little hard to believe. Let me see. A little conditional strong tour threat in northern Wisconsin, according to the HRRR for tomorrow. Very, very conditional. Very conditional. Depends on when storms hit land there. It looks like they're in the perfect spot to where they really don't take advantage of that environment. Very unsure on that. That seems to be a very fragile setup because 18Z didn't fire it on the HRRR or the NAM, but now the 00Z HRRR wants to fire it. So that seems to be a pretty fragile setup. Hello, Critty. Where's that? Yeah, you'll be missed. The bulk of it will miss you. You might get a gust of like 20 miles per hour when gaming stream. Whenever Lucky decides to actually game, he's been playing iRacing simulator for hours and hours on end every day for the last at least the last week. So whenever he decides to start playing other games, that's all he does. Wakes up, college, work, home, iRacing, sleep, wake up. That and repeat. I can't get him to do anything else other than iRacing. So we might just have to do funnel runners on our own. Because that thing's been sitting in the library for, I don't even know when it came out. I feel like it's been a week, maybe more. Miss anything? You missed 80-mile-an-hour winds earlier today, but I wasn't live for it. 81 mile-an-hour winds. 3 reports. And there's been widespread 60-mile-an-hour winds throughout the day. The PDS severe watch, if you didn't hear about that. When was that reported? 15 minutes ago, gust of 65 miles per hour. So, most of the time that warrants a 70-mile-an-hour severe, but we're still at 60. So continue to watch this region. Again, this is heading towards Sioux Falls. I want to see that northern side. Is that northern side collapsing to the southeast? It is. Yeah, the northern side's collapsing to the southeast. So all of this stuff is literally going to merge right over Sioux Falls. Right over Sioux Falls. Like you said, got you. That is another word that Lucky likes to use, meaning I read your text, but I'm not going to do it. That's what that means. See if we got anything new over here. Yeah, so 30% SIG-2 wind risk is still maintained from the SPC at that 9 o'clock update. SPC jump scare, the PDS, SVA, and the MD caught me off guard. Yeah, literally did. It was a slight risk, and then out of nowhere, they just popped up with upwards of 100-mile-an-hour winds possible. A PDS severe watch will be considered. Yeah, I think Sioux Falls is going to get at least 50, 60-mile-an-hour winds out of this. But like I said, all these storms are kind of converging right to Sioux Falls, so I wouldn't be shocked if we get a gust upwards of 75 in Sioux Falls. Also, wouldn't surprise me if we get a tornado at some point off that little hook. I mean, it's still chugging along right there. That little velocity coupling. You could see these velocities behind it. I mean, there you go. That's almost 85-mile-an-hour velocities there west of Hartford. Almost 70, about 77, 78 up there south of Colton. And then pushing 80, 84, 85 over here northeast of Monroe. And again, all this is really converging right into Sioux Falls. This stuff is moving east, and this is moving southeast. So it's converging right onto Sioux Falls. Think it needs a tornado warning? It's right on that edge, in my opinion. Right on that edge. I would think it needs a tornado warning. I have seen considerably worse couplets tornado warned, so I wouldn't argue against a tornado warning. And like I said, StormNet, good wind probs on this now, and it actually does have tornado probability on it. Gives it a 20% chance to produce a tornado. And of course, that's not, StormNet's not always accurate with that. I've seen it as low as 2%, 3%, and they're actively being a tornado on the ground. So it's just another tool in the toolbox, and it happens to be a fairly good tool. Yeah, I've seen a worse tornado emergency than this. That's crazy. I've seen a tornado emergency with a worse area of rotation than this. That is wild to think about. Well, I can tell you this. If this thing's producing 80 to 90-mile-an-hour winds, we're about to find out real quick, because it's heading into very populated areas. We're going to find out sooner than later. So if you're in Sioux Falls, I would recommend at least being away from doors and windows. If not, get to your safe spot, because I do think that this could have wind gusts upwards of 80-mile-per-hour winds with it. Most likely, if you're in Sioux Falls, you're going to end up with something closer to 50 to 60. However, somebody could end up with that gust upwards of, like I said, 70 to maybe 80. No, this is a 60-mile-an-hour severe. We have 65-mile-an-hour winds reported on it, which would typically require a 70-mile-an-hour severe, but it's still at 60. Like I said, really can't tell if that's a tornado or not. I'm not comfortable calling that a tornado. It's literally next to impossible to tell. It could be a tornado, or it could literally just be uh, winds picking up debris, or it could simply just be contamination. And yeah, there is StormNet absolutely blowing up. So in the last 5 minutes, StormNet went from about a 40% wind threat to a 77. So StormNet's very confident that this is now producing wind gusts of or greater than 58 miles per hour, which I think it's actually producing wind gusts closer to as high as 70 to 80. And like I said, again, this is all going to converge directly on top of Sioux Falls. We did get a considerable severe over here, continuing west of Billings for 70-mile-an-hour winds and about 1-inch hail in Montana. But we're primarily focused on this one heading into Sioux Falls, South Dakota, not only because it's a very populated area about to be hit by this severe, but also because it seems like this is going to have 70-plus mile-an-hour winds with it. I don't think Pennsylvania will get in on an enhanced risk. If Pennsylvania sneaks into an enhanced risk, I will be shocked. I'd say the best chance for that is Tuesday in extreme southeast PA. I mean, Monday has a non-zero chance in West PA to sneak into an enhanced, but I don't think so. I have a marginal tomorrow in the southeast. Yeah, I think that marginal will get a lot bigger as well. I really think that marginal should expand from where it does now, but I think it should expand all the way up to that instability access little boundary up there in Pennsylvania. I think that entire area should be under a marginal. And I think a localized area tomorrow could perform as a slight risk here, somewhere between northeast Florida and central Pennsylvania. Again, these velocities may just be overdoing it. I mean, we're scanning. Your radar's right there, so we're scanning only about 400 feet up here. There is a chance it's corruption. I've seen it before, but I mean, we're scanning so close. I doubt that it's not at least 70-mile-an-hour winds here. Because you have a huge pocket. Like, this entire pocket right here is 70-mile-an-hour winds. Pretty much that whole pocket is 70-mile-an-hour winds. Again, that still doesn't match up very well. I'm not confident in that being a tornado. It may be, it may not be. It's not clear enough for me to call it a clear-cut, unwarned tornado. Well, we're approaching the edge of our considerable, or our non-considerable. You'd expect it to be considerable. We're approaching the edge of our severe thunderstorm warning, so we should get a new severe pretty soon. I called it a considerable because I already expected it to be one. Surprised. Let's see. Well, I think that's about to happen out there. Let's go check here in the Eastern Pacific. For those of you who have been paying attention to the tropics, you know what I'm about to look at. Let's go to... Dang, I didn't know weather-wise went that far south. This little guy over here. I don't even know what its name is. How the heck? I ain't even gonna try. I'm not even gonna try. But yeah, this thing's starting to blow up. And it's going to rapidly intensify over the next 72 hours into a Category 4 hurricane here in the Eastern Pacific. Rapid, very, very rapid intensification will be underway with that tonight. Tonight, that's going to start rapidly intensifying. Take a look at our hurricane model. Let's just go to like the HAFSA here. Let's go to 07W, because apparently that's what it is. Gracious. Definitely quite the hurricane there. I could tell you that. Let me go to the biggest thing is the contours here. It might lag just a little, just a heads up. I think a high-end Cat 4 is possible. What's that, like 964. That's actually particularly high for that type of wind speeds. Looks like a upper echelon 950 is what this has. That's the HAFSA. Then we have the HMON. I will need to turn those on again. Turn the contours on. $984. I feel like these millibars are way too high. Am I crazy on that? Let's go to tropical tidbits. I feel like those millibars are way, way too high. HAFSA. 957. Okay. Wow. So maybe they're not. HMON 953. Oh, 949. I don't think this is... Let me go to, yeah, I don't think that's going to hit Cat 4. Most guidance is kind of sticking towards a low to mid Cat 3. I don't know about that hitting Cat 4. That's on the higher end there. The NHC definitely on the higher side of forecasts. But then again, it is the Eastern Pacific, so you know how that thing goes. We had Otis trend from a tropical storm to a Category 5 hurricane in 12 to 24 hours, so anything can happen out there, man. Anything. Thank you, Michigan Man, for the $5 donation. Thank you for the coverage. Do you foresee Southeast Michigan? They're keeping it. Wow. I suppose those when those velocities are corruption, then we'll see with the wind reports. I'll get back to that super chat in just a second. 16 minutes ago, 58. I think up to 70 mile an hour winds with that. I think it's being overdone by velocity. Southeast Michigan going big for Monday. I don't see that at the moment, but it could. It could. I don't see that right now. I would definitely be hyper weather aware, though. We are getting a new model run in, but it looks like it's going to be all over the place, so probably not an accurate one for Monday there. Wow, definitely shows quite the derecho in Wisconsin tomorrow. So I do think Wisconsin's getting a enhanced risk. There's your wind gust up to 107 miles an hour there. What about that? That's for tomorrow night at 11 p.m. Eastern. But yeah, I think Southeast Michigan, you need to be hyper weather aware. You definitely want to be watching it closely. Because things could change in an instant. Things could change so fast. For instance, today in South Dakota, some people in South Central South Dakota went from max winds of 70 miles an hour, 65, 70 mile an hour winds being possible today. And in the matter of 4 hours, it went from 65 to 70 to 100 mile an hour winds being possible. So that's what happens in summer. You have so much cape and so much available energy for these storms that if they can get going and survive on their own, move into that environment, they can thrive so quickly and become long-lived windbags with gusts of 100, 110 miles per hour sometimes. So right now, I'm not particularly interested in a significant wind threat in southeast Michigan. I think the worst wind threat is going to be focused over Indiana on Monday. But that could shift to Michigan. It could shift into southeast Michigan. You never know. All it takes is the trough to be a little bit slower, and the whole system slows down and pushes up north into Michigan more. Yeah, the PDS watch, it was a little overboard, but it verified. It verified. It really did. Like, if you're being very particular with it and looking at your probabilities, it verified. Other than the hail. The hail didn't verify, but from the wind threat, which is what the PDS was for, it actually did verify from the severe wind gusts and the probability of one or more. But the thing that didn't verify, 100 mile an hour wind gusts likely, nah. No, we didn't hit the upper echelon. We definitely didn't hit the upper echelon PDS watch, that's for sure. So I wouldn't argue with you. If you said it barely didn't verify, I wouldn't argue. If you said it barely verified, I wouldn't argue. I literally missed that, Critty. I literally did. Thank you for the $10 donation, Critty. I literally skimmed right over that. What's all this derecho talk about Monday? It's a good setup. It's a good 500 millibar setup for a derecho tomorrow night and Monday. It really is. Starting tomorrow at like 18Z up here in Canada into northwest Minnesota, all the way down, actually a little bit further west than that. Like this entire area, that 500 millibar flow is favorable for a derecho. The question is, do too many storms fire and take up the instability? Do we get multiple rounds, multiple MCSs, or even a derecho or two being possible? What happens? How many storms do we get? But you can see it's very, very favorable. It is very, very favorable in this region for derecho potential over the next roughly 70 hours or so. Actually, roughly 50 hours. And then the NAM continues that derecho potential even into the southeastern U.S. It literally shows derecho potential going over the Appalachian Mountains, which I don't think I've ever seen that in my life. It legit shows one from like central Ohio all the way down to northwest South Carolina and northeast Georgia, like the Appalachian derecho over here. I don't think I've ever seen one move like that. I know we had one in 2012 that moved into this vicinity like this, but I've never seen one that moved like this. I don't think I've ever seen that before. And I think the NAM's crazy. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't really think it did. I'll be honest. They mentioned up to 100 mile an hour winds, and we didn't manage that. 75 plus isn't surprising in this environment, but 90 to 100 was iffy. Yeah. Yeah. I think the big reason why they said 85 to 100 mile an hour winds likely is, I believe, what's in the PDS text. I think the big reason for that was the D Cape. The D Cape was like up to 22, 2300 earlier today. But Yeah, like I said, if you think it didn't verify, I'm not gonna argue with you. And when it's like iffy, it's right on that the edge of verification, in my opinion. Thank you, Critty, for another $5 donation. Bank account's crying, huh? I think an EF5 tornado is possible this week. Yeah. Yeah, it's possible. It may be 0.0 repeating with a 1 somewhere in there, but there's always a chance. It may be like a 1 in a quintillion chance for an EF5, but there's always a chance. Yeah, never say never, right? Never say never. Never say never to Mother Nature, bro. Never say never. Something just fell. Not my problem. It'll be my problem about 20 minutes to an hour. Oh, they did go considerable. Yep, they went considerable. 70 mile an hour observed. Yep, like you said, it took them long enough. They held off until someone reported it. It was actually the airport. The airport recorded 72 mile an hour wind gusts in Sioux Falls. So there you go. So 70, upwards of 75 mile an hour winds in this severe here, moving through Sioux Falls and about to move towards Brandon in southeastern South Dakota. StormNet's uptrending for tomorrow. I do think we get a enhanced risk tomorrow. I do think a derecho is possible. I do think a derecho is possible tomorrow, so I expect them to go 30% SIG 1 at the morning update, and they will probably end up considering a 30% SIG 2 and maybe even higher probs than that. I do believe a derecho is a possibility, and it all comes down to probably one thing, and that's overconvection. Do we get a bunch of convection in front that takes up the instability and that results in lesser wind gusts? Even in that case, holy crap, you've got, what is that, like 100 almost? Okay, overdone. Not, okay, never mind, not overdone. Like 97 mile an hour, 100, there you go. It wasn't overdone at all. You got like 100.1 mile an hour winds moving into Milwaukee tomorrow at, technically Monday morning at 2 a.m. And that starts about 6 o'clock in Minnesota. That would be a derecho. That would be a derecho if that actually comes to fruition. And tracks from north central Minnesota to northwestern Indiana, just off your screen there. Southwestern Michigan, that would be a derecho. I'm fairly sure about that, at least. If we go ahead and just measure the track, like I said, I'm like 99% sure. Roughly from up here to down here. Yeah. He's almost hits double classification. Almost hits double. 500 and what? 580 is double. Yeah, 580 is double classification of a derecho in terms of length. Oh, they went considerable a little further south too. I wouldn't be surprised if we did end up with a wind gust if we did and or do end up with a wind gust upwards of 80 miles per hour in this vicinity here. We'll need to watch this to see how wide is this line? How wide are you here? That is the pin. Gotta love it. When I can get the measuring tool, I will gladly. Ooh. That's a close one. That is a very, very close one. From right here to right here. Ooh, really close. You're right on that vicinity there. It depends if we're measuring by the actual storm itself or by the warning. I'd say you maybe want to go with the warning, which is a bit strange, but I feel like you might want to. It's about 55 miles. That's just 5 miles over derecho classification. Because I'm thinking here, golly, I did not mean to do that. We go to the HRRR sub-hourly and go back up to the risk. I'm curious if a derecho is possible tonight. 300 miles. It comes down to one thing, and that's how significant the wind gusts are. If we can get well-spaced 75-mile-an-hour winds from where we just saw 72 in Sioux Falls, and we get them well-spaced, and we continue with like 75-mile-an-hour winds here, and then more here, and then more here, and then more here, this could be a mini derecho. It could be. I would not rule it out. They have that slight risk all the way down into Davenport and that 15% SIG 1 even into Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So it's definitely by no means impossible that we get a derecho tonight. A derecho is literally possible for the next 4 days straight. Today, tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday all have derecho potential. I would say the day that has the least derecho potential is probably Tuesday. I think we'll see 19 and a half tornadoes. I would be blown away if we get 19 tornadoes out of tomorrow's slop setup. The only way how that happens is if we get a favorable orientation derecho. And I don't believe that the southeast moving derecho, I don't believe that's going to be a particularly favorable orientation for a tornado outbreak embedded inside of the MCS. As you can see, your environment is definitely by no means very favorable. Only localized, very weak wind shear. Yeah, StormNet keeps tornado probabilities low, but definitely not zero. But StormNet has been uptrending for tomorrow, so I do think tomorrow... I'm very confident tomorrow will go enhanced. I'm very confident. I'm very, very confident. As long as these other runs come in and they continue to show what they have been showing, I'm very confident tomorrow will go enhanced. Tomorrow morning. And you have the wrap that shows a full-blown, like, blue sky blast. High risk. No. 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 I mean, yeah, totally. 100%. For sure. Guaranteed. Yep. Guaranteed. Totally gonna go high risk tomorrow. 100%. Trust. Was a 0-0-Z an uptrend for Monday? I'd say so, right? I mean, I'd say it's a huge uptrend. Oh, for Monday. You literally said that and I read it and I still didn't process it. Tomorrow, yeah, huge uptrend. Monday, no. No, downtrend actually. I would say a downtrend. And that's just because you get so much slop in front of the Is that a cold? What is even happening there? Is this thing like riding a cold front? Like what am I looking at? There's definitely some sort of front in here because you have significant wind change. The wrap doesn't show that. The GFS does. And that's why the GFS keeps instability very low on... Oh, well, it does recover very well. Much better recovery on the GFS and the HRRR. Interesting. Interesting. We'll have to see. We won't know much about Monday's full derecho extent until we're done with the morning derecho. Or the morning MCS, whatever it may be. I think what's happening is the HRRR is such a high-end event for tomorrow. Like, it legit shows a giant wind bag with widespread 80 to 110 mile an hour winds moving through almost the whole state of Wisconsin. Like, it literally shows like a mega derecho. And then, yeah, like I said, like, I don't know if this is like a cool pool type or what is happening in here, but it has like remnant significant, or rather, remnant strong to severe winds behind the derecho. And so the main area for severe weather on Monday ends up being Nebraska. Like Nebraska and Missouri is the main threat on Monday. It's nothing over in the Midwest. So, I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see if that happens. Sure. I have a pretty good feeling it's going to change. This is going to continue off to the southeast, though. I still do believe that up to 100 mile an hour winds will remain possible for about the next hour and 30 minutes. I think that will be our highest wind threat chance. About the next hour and 30 minutes. Yeah. Till about 11. 11, right around 11 Eastern. It's what I call a wake low when there's still significant damaging winds behind an MCS. Yep. I don't think that was particularly a wake low being portrayed on the model. But man, never forget the wake low last year. Gracious. Yeah, this should be a PDS severe. 77 mile an hour winds now 10 minutes ago. I have no idea why they've held off on the PDS. I feel like it should have been PDS for Sioux Falls. And I want to see if we got some curl action on this here. See if you can kind of spot some... I can't really spot any curling yet. What I mean by that is trying to see if you've got a miniature low pressure trying to form. Or simply an MCV. It's almost as if velocity showed that. Yeah, I know, right? Hey! Better late than never, I suppose. Better late than never, I guess. Observed 88 mile an hour... 88? What? Observed 81 mile an hour winds 9 minutes ago. So there you go. 80 mile an hour winds heading towards Rock Rapids, northwest Iowa. Woke up late for work warning. Yep. I think this will be possible over the next hour and a half or so. Look at the severe text. Where am I looking at? Nothing looks particularly out of place. Looks good to me. These are destructive storms too. Oh, these are destructive storms for. These are destructive storms for. I see that. Yep, you're right. These are destructive storms for. These are destructive storms. Got it. Imagine that playing over the radio. These are destructive storms for. These are destructive storms for. Because that's what it does over the weather radio. Normally after that it goes, these are destructive storms for, and then it lists the county names. Crazy. Drink maple syrup. Okay, buddy. Central Georgia's good, but I would watch. I would watch very, very late Tuesday into probably Wednesday morning for some isolated damaging winds, rain, and maybe a few lightning strikes. Another 75-mile-an-hour wind report. So, yeah, there you go. That confirms it. 14 minutes ago. This should have been a PDS severe 14 minutes ago. We just got it not but about a minute or two ago. So, very, very late. Who would have guessed? Radar scanning 200 feet off the ground actually was right. The heck did I just see on Twitter? 2 years ago today, an intense Category 4 typhoon made landfall in, I believe, Taiwan. And it did a loop-de-loop landfall. Like, this sucker literally, say that this is Taiwan's coastline, like right here. This typhoon literally went, I'm gonna hit, nope, just kidding, I'm gonna do a loop-de-loop, and then made landfall. Like, what? I forgot about that. Apparently that happened 2 years ago today. Someone said it's gonna be 120 in Oklahoma City. Let's see. Maybe heat indexes. Eventually. Golly. GFS for tomorrow. Non-heat index. 116 degrees Fahrenheit for central Kansas. Wow. And then Oklahoma Tuesday. 111, 112. Non-heat index. Yo, you guys are fried. Y'all are fried out there. Welcome to the Ridge of Doom over here. I'm glad I'm not under that. I would much rather be getting some isolated severe weather than 120-degree temperatures. I'm not gonna lie. I'd rather deal with some rain than death. Because I'm not going out in that. I think that's so hot to the point where your AC is gonna fail. Some of these wind gusts definitely could be upwards of like 80 for sure, so get to your safe spot. 92-mile-an-hour wind gust. What? Ain't it on my side yet. Let me see. I see 81, 77. I don't see any 90 yet. Yeah, I just opened 2 other softwares and they only have these reports right here for above, at or above 75. Was that north of Canton? Like right in here? It wouldn't surprise me if it was. But yeah, apparently 90, greater than 90-mile-an-hour winds possible now with this storm going to Rock Rapids in northwest Iowa. I wouldn't rule out a wind gust even higher than 92 miles per hour. Near T, west of... Oh, okay, I just didn't zoom in enough. Thank you. There you go. Wow, that was 10 minutes ago as well. Personal weather station at 9:50. What? That's interesting. Wow. Can't particularly say I've seen from 600 feet away 20-mile-an-hour velocities actually be producing 92-mile-an-hour winds. And nor have I seen a 92-mile-an-hour wind report come in and the National Weather Service only have a 60-mile-an-hour severe in place. Because that's what was in place at the time. Actually, that would have been right on the edge, right? Yep. Yep, it was right on the edge. I think they upgraded this to 70 10 minutes prior to that report coming in. Still, 92-mile-an-hour wind gust and a 70-mile-an-hour severe, that is pretty dang far off. Imagine that. Maximum winds of 70 miles per hour possible, and you end up with a 92-mile-an-hour wind gust. Quite the difference. Just a little bit of a difference. Little bit of a difference. Worst tornado we ever covered at Mayfield, 2021, December 10th. What was originally called the Quad State tornado. Then they found out it was two separate tornadoes, both EF4. By far, the one that hit Mayfield touchdown. I think it was either in the Boot Hill of Missouri at touchdown or Southwest Kentucky, Northwest Tennessee, somewhere right in that quadrant. Moved up, hit Mayfield, then went right through Dawson Springs, Benton, Dawson Springs. Very, very horrible tornado. I'd say that was the worst. Rolling Fork, though, what was that? Like sometime in March 2023. I forgot the exact date. Sometime in March 2023. The Rolling Fork tornado, also very bad. You had a few. Those are the ones that stick out to me. Mayfield sticks out. Rolling Fork, those two stick out probably the most. And then also Elkhorn, Nebraska, April 26th, 2024 sticks out as well. I think those are like the top three that stick out instantly when I think worst tornadoes. Now, if we're talking about strongest, then I definitely go to Greenfield. Which I couldn't even... Was that 2024? It's been so long, I literally can't even remember that date. And obviously the second place right there, neck and neck with it, would be, shoot, what was that town called? The latest EF5, June 20th, 2025. Whatchamacallit. What was that small town that was just to the west of it? That's what we named that tornado. I forgot it. I forgot the town. Enderlin. That's what it was. Yep, Enderlin. Enderlin was overrated. Okay. Yes, because I am for sure one of my YouTube chatters is smarter than hundreds of some of the most brilliant men and women going to rate a tornado. I am sure you guys are smarter than all those guys' brains combined. Sure. Yep. 100%. Yep, definitely going to take some YouTube comment more seriously than degreed engineers and hundreds of them at that. Have you ever covered a tornado in central Georgia? Most likely. I can't recall one, but most likely. Most likely I did. Enderlin is still wild, but it's the latest EF5. It broke a 13-year drought. And over here saying it's overrated. I know you didn't say it was overrated. I know you didn't. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm not saying you said it was overrated. Guarantee that wasn't intended rage bait. It worked. Rage bait successful, if it was so. I wonder when we will see our first traditional EF. If it's rated EF5, it's an EF5. Like, what? Wonder when we'll see our first traditional EF5. What does that mean? Does that mean like an Oklahoma EF5 and like Central OKC EF5? Is that like a traditional EF5 and it's actually rated F5 and not EF5? Like an F5 in Central Oklahoma? Did you cover Gary EF3 2025? I did not. I was at a family thing. I'm pretty sure I missed that one. I don't know if I missed Gary. I remember I missed one ginormous, huge, photogenic tornado in the West Plains in 2025, and I wasn't home. Who would have guessed a lot of destructive, damaging wind gusts are coming from this storm? Would have never guessed that. I don't know why they kept it 60 and 70 mile an hour severe for so long. Literally like 10 minutes after the first 80 mile an hour, or 10 minutes after the first, which one was it? I don't know which one was first. I want to say it was the 75 mile an hour wind gust one that came first. Like 10 minutes after that, they finally upgraded it. The average IQ in chat right now is 20. I think you mean all the time. I don't think you mean right now. Hot take, I don't believe tomorrow will perform like what the HRRR shows. I don't know. I disagree. I don't know if it will perform to that widespread and to that extent. But I do think it's going to be MCS to derecho potential. The NAM, though, definitely does show what you're talking about with, just a bird fart or two farting off over here in Minnesota and Michigan, and then nothing else in the actual main risk area. And if that happens, Monday should be much, much bigger of an event. New MD. I'm guessing southern Minnesota, northern Iowa. Yep, extreme southwest Minnesota, far northern northwest Iowa. Yep. Couldn't have seen that coming. Excuse me. Almost all models have sucked this year. Yep. The only decent model is StormNet. It's the only decent one. And even that obviously hasn't been the best. It's been good, but definitely not the best. A corridor of significant wind gusts, 75 to 90 mile per hour winds, is possible till about 11:30 p.m. Eastern. So there you go. There's your peak wind threat. They just issued an MCD for it. So roughly right in here for about the next little over an hour will be your peak wind threat. Models will only get worse. Honestly, they shouldn't. As long as we get our weather balloons back at some point. forecasting should only be getting better with time, but we've had a bit of a drawback due to less funding, fired employees, weather balloon data going extinct. So if we keep having that, yeah, forecasting is going to get worse and worse. And unfortunately, it's going to take a... If it keeps going this way, the only way it's going to get back on course is if there's a reality check. And we've had a few of those. We've had a few of those, especially in the early 2010s. I hope we can get funding back, get weather balloon data back to what it once was. But like I said, might take a reality check. And just like that chaser that got picked up by a tornado the other day. Did you guys hear about that? 2 of them. I believe one a non-chaser in China car was picked up from a tornado, and then an actual storm chaser here in the U.S. was picked up by a tornado yesterday in his car, thrown into a ditch. The one in China was violent. Like, that one was violent. That thing took the car, flung it a lot into the air. I don't know how far, probably like 50-some feet up into the air, and then tossed it into, I don't know exactly what it was, tree, pole. I can't remember the video very vividly. Yesterday, that chaser was hit by a relatively weak tornado. But it was enough to pick up the back of that car and swing it into a ditch. Yeah, China's had like 3 crazy tornadoes this year. Right off the bat, I can easily think of the huge wedge that went through that city, and then also the car being picked up. And I'm sure there was 1 or 2 more that were even just as crazy as that. And so these winds going to be peaking over the next hour or so once more. We'll have to see how this outflow kind of handles here. See if that kind of weakens. See how there's like light rain here, but this light rain is producing like, I almost had 100. 80 to 90 mile an hour winds there. Sometimes when that happens, most of the time actually when that happens, that actually causes the storm to weaken. It bows out so far that it starts to break apart and weaken, but not before it produces crazy wind gusts. Not before it produces 90 to 100 mile an hour winds, which it's already tried to produce upwards of 100 out in this vicinity. Since when did China get tornadoes? Since forever. China just doesn't have as good coverage radar-wise at all, and it's not talked about. You don't hear it as much. You don't hear about it as much. Why is weather so bad this year? It's normal. It's normal. I will say the only thing that is not normal is the damaging winds. I feel like the damaging wind side of things has been quite extraordinarily widespread this year. And we're running, I believe, extremely well above average for damaging winds. And I think tornado-wise, we're running just slightly above average. So it's really about an average year. And mix that with the likely hyper-inactive, hyper-inactive Atlantic hurricane season. Yeah, probably going to be a pretty average year in terms of around the North America continent-wise. Of course, we have had that extreme heat too, though. But China, I feel like almost every year I hear about some crazy tornado in China. At least once a year. Yeah, I think the main thing we're going to be tracking this year, the rest of this year, for the rest of the 5 months we have left of 2026, is going to be typhoons. I think typhoons are going to be the big thing. Of course, in the U.S., it's going to be MCS/derechos, but outside of that, typhoons. It is 10:15.
I am going to have to head off soon. I did not realize I had been live for borderline 2.5 hours. Why didn't you guys tell me? This is your fault. But yeah, if you guys are enjoying the stream, we're not going to head off just yet. A little longer. Make sure you hit that like button. Share the stream and the channel with your family, friends, social media. It's greatly, greatly appreciated. And yeah, subscribe with the notification bell set to all, so you know when I go live later on. Live streams videos have been fairly inconsistent. I apologize. I don't really have a good excuse for you. I'm not going to make any excuse this time because it's really just been me. It really has. I've had the opportunities to go live and I've just been like, nah, I'll wait. So really no excuse this time. It's just been on my behalf. But in late June and early July, proper excuse. I was super busy. Oh, I just remembered towards the end of this upcoming week, I'm probably going to have a borderline 1 week hiatus. Because I have something ongoing that I'm very much needed. It's not particularly something I can I can avoid. So that will probably be from roughly Thursday to Thursday. This upcoming Thursday to next Thursday. I might be able to have a video or a live stream during that time. It just depends exactly how busy I am. But yeah, that I can't just dip on that. That's something that I can't just dip on. Yeah, something I've really been wanting to do is another tutorial. I keep talking about it, but I haven't been getting around to it. I so badly want to do another tutorial or a how-to. I want to do something in terms of a how-to for something. Model data, satellite, weather-wise, weather front, weather whatever. I want to do another how-to. The thing is, I got to try to do a how-to without doing too much of the how-to, you know? I don't want to do a how-to weather-wise and then it end up being a how to read satellite, how to read radar, how to read model runs, and everything like that. 15% SIG 2 for me risk isn't normal. It's unlucky. Caleb, it's almost like that we don't know what normal is with the new Outlook, maybe because it was introduced earlier this year. You can't really say an SPC Outlook is unusual if it just got introduced. We just started this year, March 1st, 2026, with the SIG risks. So you can't particularly say it's not normal. In that case, every single SIG risk we've ever had this year, I should have put a big fat not normal thumbnail with an arrow pointing towards the US on anything that was a SIG 1. Just waiting on the random 60% SIG 3 tour in the South in November. Yup. You already know. And then it's gonna bust. You already know. Sure is. It's the major things that might happen tonight. For about the next 45 minutes to an hour or so, we're expecting this to continue to produce 80 to 90 mile an hour winds across southwestern Minnesota and northwestern Iowa. Outside of that, really nothing much. We're still going to continue with an isolated 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts in northeast North Dakota and isolated 60 to 70 mile an hour winds up here in Montana. But the worst will be over the next hour or so in northwest Iowa. After that, the line should weaken around Fort Dodge, but it's still expected to produce about 60 to upwards of 80 mile an hour winds, even all the way through Cedar Rapids and maybe even as far southeast as Davenport, Iowa. In that yellow and yellow hatched area there. But you can see that highest risk for 90 mile an hour winds stops right there. That thin double hatched line is where that 90 mile an hour wind risk stops. Now, we still could see a random gust up to 90 after that, but I'm pretty confident we won't. I'm pretty confident we won't.
This is the newest model run. The HRRR, yeah, the HRRR says after, at or even, yeah, at or even after 11, the main wind risk is done. It peaks between now and 11. So I believe our highest wind threat is already peaking. And after about 11 Eastern, it will decrease. Mainly wind damage. We can't rule out 1-inch hail somewhere in Montana, northeast North Dakota, or north central, northwestern Iowa, as well as a brief tornado in north central, northwest Iowa. But the bulk of our activity tonight will be just wind. But I don't really want to say just wind because some wind gusts could literally be 90 miles per hour, which is practically a huge tornado. It's tornadic like wind speeds, but over a wider vicinity. So I don't really want to say just damaging winds because it's really not a just. You can't really say just damaging. If it's damaging, it's not a just. You know, it's just a tornado. It's just 100-mile-an-hour winds. But yeah, mainly damaging winds. What is Critty doing? But yeah, tomorrow, I may or may not be live. I cannot guarantee a live stream tomorrow, Monday or Tuesday. That's how bad my schedule has been. I'll try to, but I'm not gonna promise you it because I don't want to make a promise I can't keep. I'm not someone who likes to do that. If I make a promise, I'm gonna try my absolute hardest to keep it. So, live streams will be possible over the next 3 days, but not guaranteed. Lag? It better not be. It better not be lagging. It's going to be the one day you're not live and 3 tornado emergencies happen. That's why live streams are way more common here during spring, pretty much every single day of spring and into the very early days of summer, because that's when tornadoes are very, very more likely. They're more likely. Even if you have the exact same setup in terms of thermodynamics in March or April as you do in July, it's going to be different outcomes. Just really, like, no matter what, the tornadoes once you get past like late June, the tornadoes from late June all the way until early March, end of February, it's not the same. It's not the same. Let's see. No lag. All right. Yeah, severe watch continues, of course. And again, I think the worst of our wind gusts will be possible in this vicinity for about the next roughly 47 minutes. Rather, 36 minutes. Can't do math. But all right, I'm going to do a quick rundown of the outlook for those who haven't seen it. This is for the remainder of today. Let's do a refresh real quick. So here's the rest of today. Ignore that part of the enhanced risk because we are done with that part of the enhanced. But if you're in that yellow and orange area, that's level 2, level 3 out of 5 for severe weather. Make sure you stay hyper weather aware, especially in towards the middle and end of that level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk orange area for today. We have another level 2 out of 5 slight risk back up here into Montana. And then we have a tiny little level 1 out of 5 marginal in the dark green in southern Arizona. Tomorrow, We have a slight risk for severe weather, very large level 2 out of 5 slight risk for severe weather, with the primary threat being damaging winds. I do think we will end up with a enhanced risk somewhere up in this vicinity here. A level 3 out of 5, I think, will be introduced for damaging winds somewhere in that region for tomorrow, as long as things continue to trend the way they are. Then as we go on into Monday, another large level 2, not 3, another large level 2 out of 5 for severe weather exists, with the primary threat being damaging winds. However, Monday looks like the best threat for tornadoes out of this stretch for severe weather, and I think this will eventually go enhanced risk, although I don't know where. I'd say the best chance for a enhanced risk at the moment is towards central Indiana, but I really truly don't know exactly where Monday's enhanced risk may be, because there's a lot of uncertainty on how tomorrow's convection will influence the instability available for Monday. Then we move on in here into Tuesday. I do expect the slight risk will be expanded at least quite a bit to the southwest, and maybe a little bit further off to the slightly further off to the kind of northwest and maybe northeast. But the primary expansion I would expect is to the southwest. And I do think we will see a enhanced risk for severe weather outlined across roughly this corridor for your day 3 outlook tomorrow, which will be for Tuesday. I think we'll see an enhanced risk there, because I do think, if not enhanced, a 30%, like we have for a day 3, 30% like we have right now for Monday. We may see the same thing for Tuesday. So it might not be enhanced, but maybe borderline enhanced. 80-mile-an-hour wind severe still continues. That is going to be it for me. I appreciate you guys watching. I will see you guys in the next live stream, which hopefully will be within the next 3 days. I appreciate you for watching once more. On your way out, if you can, make sure you hit that subscribe button with a notification bell set to all, so you know when I go live in the next 3 days, if I do. Also, make sure you hit that like button on the way out and share this channel with your family, friends, social media. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you, mods, for mod and chat, and everybody for being here. I really appreciate it, and it was great hanging out with y'all for 2.5 hours, a little longer live stream. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe, watch the severe weather, have a great rest of your Saturday. Goodbye. Stay safe, watch the severe weather, and I'll see you guys in the next live stream that I do. Have a great rest of your Saturday night. Goodbye.